Hello, welcome back to Blender LiveENODING. In this episode, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna take advantage of Blender Compositing and then kind of use it in combination with a Sverchok add-on. Basically transferring this little image into something like this, like a real mesh 3D object in the scene. So how do we go about doing that? So yeah, let's get started. Yeah, I'll start from scratch. Basically, I'm gonna even make the painting on the fly. So it's just gonna be like a scribble. I'm gonna make it 400 by 400, and this is, I call it paint X, and color will be completely white. And I'm gonna start a quick painting. So basically, if you have like a blank white piece of paper and you kind of draw some kind of scribble on it. In this case, I'll just gonna draw whatever, using red and the green color and blue color. Something like that, right? And I'm gonna save it real quick. Save as Paint X. And this is our image, and we want to transfer this image into a mesh object. How do we go about doing that? So SV paint to mesh. Give it a number. Save. Sverchok actually have one node that's dealing with image, even though it is like that nodes is actually like limited to 100 by 100 pixel resolution, so like 10,000 pixel only. But it's kind of okay. What I mean is like we only can resample it up to 100 times 100, but that's kind of enough for what we are doing anyway. So it's limited, but you can do you can do this differently. So I'm gonna just use the image nodes anyway, and we're gonna grab this Paint X, and let's try using this guy, using the viewer draw, and have a look. Plug in the vertices, so we can see it's already happening. There's a bunch of points and some points being pushed. And I'll plug in the polygon data, and okay, kind of seeing something. I'll increase this to 40 by 40. Now we start to see kind of like a displacement of this mesh based on this image. So that's pretty clear. It's almost like displace modifier, kind of. But the interesting thing about this node is that we have this way to kind of filter out color in a way. So there's like green and blue, and I kind of wondering how to actually separate this using Sverchok, because white color consists of RGB in full in maximum value, while S only like red. Currently, I don't think because this image node already does some processing of the color inside it and gonna output only the vector and polygon, so we don't really have control over that. But I kind of want to process this differently, so I will be using Blender Compositing. Okay, so I'm gonna switch to the compositing. I'm gonna turn on use nodes, and we're gonna get this guy. So we're gonna do some kind of comparison. So this is the original image. Here I will create like a viewer draw, and I'm gonna check this out real quick. So image, and get this, plug this into the viewer, and now we can do a lot of image processing in terms of RGB. You can use things like inverting, for example, and update the invert. And if we switch this to the viewer, we can see the result right here. So that's the invert of this image, but that's not what we want to do. We want to really separate the red color. So I actually asked on Facebook whether this can be done using just compositing magic to separate just the red, for example. apparently you can, and you just use like a separate RGB. Thanks to Sadid, I think he answered my question. You can use the green and the blue if you just invert. So with just the green, you actually get this black. You get rid of the green from this RGB. If you separate the RGB, if you look at the R, you actually lost the S. If you use the G, you lost the green, and you lost the B. You use the B, and you lost the blue channel. That's actually very interesting. But anyhow, the quick answer is that you kind of invert out the green and the blue, and then you multiply the result of this green and blue being inverted, and you should get the multiplier for the S. Let me check if I'm doing this properly. So red, green, blue, RGB. That's the green, and this is gonna be the blue, and we invert it, and we multiply it, and as a result, we get the image, which is just the S. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's actually solving the problem. All right. So we can now go back to Sverchok real quick, and in Sverchok, just use the viewer node, and now we have just the displacement for the S. And really, this is like almost done, because if we separate the vector, and then kind of use a little bit of math, we basically ask Sverchok, okay, find all the points that's actually with the z-axis, with the z value more than 0, something like that. So let's try that. We know that the value of z is the one that's changing. If we say, okay, find this that's actually larger than 0, it's gonna give us like a true and false masking, and so we can use mask vertices, I believe. Hopefully this works as planned. So this is the mask, and it didn't quite work. But if I increase this guy, so it sort of works. Yeah. Let me double check whether I'm doing this correctly. So this should be 1 and 1 and 1. That's gonna be the all these vertices. If we increase this, we get that, which is kind of correct. We can try using larger than, smaller than, okay, smaller than give us that. We probably need to invert it or something. Or actually, so I think this is the correct setup right here, but we don't want the vertices that's already being pushed up here. So I'm gonna duplicate this guy and then kind of zero it out, and I will use the vertices from this guy, and there you go. That's the result. So from this image, we turn it into a mesh. We do the processing inside Blender Compositing just to get the S, and this is what we get. There's actually another way to do this. You can really just use the keying. Oh, actually not this keying. There's another one, key, color keying, I think. So yeah, if we start with an image and then we key the color, let's say we'll make it like a green, we should get the result that we wanted. So let's try this color keying. So yeah, so that's we are kind of keying the green. For example, maybe we need to do the inversions. I'm not 100% sure with this. Compositing is actually quite interesting for me. There's a lot of trick you can do. I think that's how you do it, right? You key out the green. You can key out the red also, and then you can key out the blue. Let's see if I'm doing this correctly. Maybe I need to convert this to black and white or something. So that's the matte. Invert. Okay, that's the invert of the matte. I think this is a correct way to do it. Can be cleaner. So, but anyway, we can get a red and green and blue very easily. So let's try the blue one. So if we update the calculation, we should get the blue color right there. So it's working. We can increase the resolution perhaps 60 by 60, and this one also 60 by 60. So now it's a little bit higher in terms of resolution. So this is another way to do this. So you have a little bit of control as well with saturations and the value, and I think it's the saturations really affected. And once you update the compositing, you can update it in Sverchok as well. So yeah, this is kind of interesting exercise. You can try doing this yourself. Yeah, for me it's kind of interesting. It's basically you start with an image. You can scribble it digitally using your computer, or just do a scribble on a white paper in different color, and then take a picture, bring it into Blender. This is like 400 by 400 pixel, but anyway, it doesn't matter. This image node will kind of handle it anyway. You can resize the image yourself. But what's interesting for me is how the compositing can help you to process the image, and the output can come back into Sverchok, and you can generate something like this. You're basically like filtering the color on the fly, and you can get a result which is like a real mesh in this case. Once you have this, you can really do anything with it. Don't forget, this is like inside Sverchok, so you can do like a lot of neat things. Like for example, the KD3 edges. That's one of my favorites. You can make kind of like a spider web kind of design real quick. Let me update it. Hopefully this works. There you go. See, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, that kind of design, you can bake it, and you can even turn this into skin or something. You can use polyline. This is one of my favorite magic trick, you know. Turn it into some kind of design. In this case, really, I think polyline is not very good for that. It's the other one, skin mesher. This might take a while to process. Hopefully it's not too bad. There you go, it's instantly being generated, so it's like a puzzle. Yeah, so yeah, it's very interesting processing. In the future, you know, who knows, that maybe we can use some kind of machine learning, and then you can kind of give this to Blender, and then Blender can use, maybe using Python or whatever, can recognize this is letter S, this is like a plus sign, this is a triangle. Machine learning is like, sounds like far out of reach, but I don't know, I think it's very interesting subjects. I'm not sure whether it's gonna be ever be covered in Blender Sushi. I'm not sure, but basically, like I tried it the other day with the iPhone and the Apple ML machine learning stuff. You can basically point out your iPhone, and then you can tell that's a flower, and the flower is type of rose, and that's really cool. I wonder if that kind of applications can be inside Blender as well. It's not like for recognizing flower, maybe for the face detections. If I can record it using my iPhone and get the face like in 3D kind of detection, and then I can bring it into Blender and kind of process it further. That thing is kind of very interesting. In this case, just like the basic filtering of pixel and get that pixel value, you know. It's I don't know, for me it's still kind of interesting and magical. So anyway, that's a quick look at how you can use Blender Compositing and Sverchok to turn an image into like a mesh data. Okay, thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.